morning and welcome to the Fireside Chat. As you can see, we're sitting here around the campfire with a wonderful cacophony of bird noises as the sun goes down. I can hear francolins, pearl-spotted owlets, lots of different birds around. But happy Father's Day, especially to everyone out there. And I hope you guys have had a great day and spoilt your dad's rotten. So we asked a little question on the afternoon sunset safari about which animal was probably the best father in this area. And a couple of you got it right, but before we go into names, we're going to show you the clip, and here is the clip. And it is probably one of the only polygynous birds that we get around here, so opposite to polygamy, and that is where the female will mate with multiple males. She will lay eggs and then disappear. The male will build the nest, he will raise the chicks, and quite often during the summer months, one of the really cute sightings you can ever see is of a male jacana. Quite often he'll sit there and he's got his wings over, and you'll see these tiny little guys that he keeps protected. So a male jacana, and quite a lot of you got it right, but the first people to get it right, well, there was actually quite a few other animals that were mentioned, hippo, bullfrogs, which are also very good fathers, but not quite to the same degree as the African jacana. But I think what other animals were there? There was mentioned wild dogs, but wild dogs is a bit more of a sort of a general thing. Vultures were also mentioned, and they do actively care. Jackal as well, also, but not to the same degree as the poor African jacana. A male ostrich is one that could compete with a male jacana, but unfortunately he has help from the lady. So the people who got it right were Helen, Craig, Raisa, and Julia. Well done, guys. And I think I hear Commander Bond strolling in, trying to look quite suave, as he always does. But it has been a really fantastic week. We have been really spoiled this week, so we're going to have quite a lot to chat about, and I hope you guys got your questions in, and we'll just wait for, oh, sorry, a bit of smoke there, Commander to join us. And we've got a special treat for you later as well. So, it has been an absolutely spectacular week. And we've got two really amazing sightings this week. And we will go into detail about them a little bit later as we wait for Jemsy. But the birds are still going. The cacophony is not quite as loud as it was when we first went live. You can hear there's still fork-tailed drongos making quite a lot of noise, hawking, catching that last insect before nighttime sets in. The francolins seem to have calmed down now. Still a few off in the distance, but as you can see, there's a magnificent sky behind us as the sun dips further below the horizon. It has been a really great day today in particular. James, I know, has had some great time with those the Nkahuma Pride, and he got to walk them on foot, so I'm a little bit jealous of that. As you know, we discussed on the Sunset Safari, probably one of my favorite things is tracking cats on foot. Oh, hello.
How are you?
Welcome, Jamesy.
Yes, thank you so much.
How was your evening?
Oh, it was marvellous. Hello, everybody.
Here we go. I gave you the high seat.
Thank you very much,
just to
Brent.
make you feel a bit better.
You're very considerate.
Yes,
That's
only
why
sometimes.
I like you.
So, wonderful afternoon so far.
Yes, extremely pleasant afternoon.
So, it has been. But now moving on to our fireside schedule, the first of the really exciting sightings we had this week, I was lucky enough to be at. And we got, yes, you weren't, sorry. I know you had mongoose poo, it's okay.
Yes.
We were lucky enough to get a tip off from one of the other guides that there were cheetah tracks near the Buffels Hook waterhole. And we went into that area, and as I looked at the ground and I saw the tracks, I sort of followed the line they were going, and bang, there they were. Two male cheetah, but behaving really strangely. And as you know, a lot of you will know, I've discussed quite in depth the hyoid apparatus in cats. So cheetah are not able to make those loud noises like lions and leopards. Maybe James can do a cheetah growl impression for us.
No, I can't.
But it is quite a strange sound. So we found these two male cheetah, and they were staring deep into a round leaf teak thicket,
Just
and
do
going,
the growl. I mean, you've shown. There we go.
so not the most menacing sound in the bush. And we couldn't figure out what was there. And I remember mentioning, I think there must be a hyena or possibly another predator. And I was quite sure it wasn't a lion, because if it had been a lion, I think those cheetahs would not have hung around at all. But and then the young quarantine male leopard burst from said round leaf teak and sent the cheetah rushing down. So we're going to have a quick look at that clip. So here's the clip of that amazing cheetah sighting with a leopard. I was so excited during this sighting. It was absolutely incredible. And we just noticed those cheetah around the termite mound, and then the round leaf teak just behind there. Unfortunately, we tried our best to get both the cheetah and the leopard in the same frame, but as that leopard charged off towards, they made long ways.
So you're sure it wasn't your incompetent driving?
No, I'm quite sure it wasn't my incompetent driving.
I must just tell you that Brent arrived home that day playing a Thunderstruck by AC/DC and basically behaving like he was a rock star. Because I had found mongoose poo and he had found a cheetah being chased by a leopard.
I did feel like a rock star. But moving on to a lot slightly more serious, we have got a question from Deb in Ohio. Hi Deb, welcome to the FireSide chat. Deb would like to know, what is the purpose of the black stains around a cheetah's eye? And since I had such a fantastic sighting, I'll let James at least talk about cheetah.
That, everybody, is known as dropping someone in it. The black tear marks on a cheetah are probably most likely from most probably there to absorb light. Remember that a cheetah is the only nocturnally, at least diurnally, hunting cat, and it's exposed to huge amounts of sunlight, especially where it is often living in places like the Namib Desert, where there's huge reflection of the sand. And so we think, and I mean this is postulation, that the black tear marks on a cheetah absorb some of that reflected light, a little bit like if you watch some of NFL players playing under lights. They'll put black boot polish under their eyes. There's a famous West Indian cricket player called Shivnarine Chanderpaul who does the same thing, and it's apparently to reduce the amount of light that reflects into the eyes, especially when you look up. So we think that's why the cheetah have the tear marks in their eyes.
Well, Dave, next question. Thanks very much for that, James. Dave would like to know, what is the size difference between a cheetah and a leopard? And if they were to fight, who would be the victor? So it always comes down to who's going to win.
It always comes down to who's going to win.
So basically, Dave, the cheetah, even though they might look sometimes bigger, they are quite a lot taller, but they are very slenderly built. And even a young male leopard like Quarantine is physically a lot stronger and has a lot more muscle mass. So a cheetah, I think the heaviest recorded male cheetah in the wild is just over 60 kilograms, and the heaviest recorded male leopard in the wild is 94 kilograms. So there is quite a big weight difference, even though the cheetah is quite a bit taller. And if it came down to who had to win, even one leopard against two cheetah, I think my money would be on the single male leopard.
The other thing to remember, it's a little bit like pitting a Kenyan marathon runner against somebody of the same height, say, who was a boxer. A leopard is basically a boxer, and the cheetah is a runner and a courser, completely over-specialized animal, totally over-specialized to speed and absorbing as much oxygen as they can. So they've even got reduced canines because of the amount of oxygen they have to take in to run at the speeds they do. So it's just a totally different design.
Thanks very much, James.
Yes,
we have another question from Ron in Scotland. Ron would like to know, what are the main sort of focuses on the conservation effort on cheetah in South Africa to do with the meta population. For those of you not sure what a meta population is, it is the whole population itself. So not the cheetah from Kruger or the cheetah from the Karoo. It is the whole population looking over it. And actually, Ron, I actually, because of that cheetah sighting, went and did quite a bit of reading on the meta population. And I was lucky enough that my dad actually went to one of the meta populations meetings and forwarded on a really interesting article about that. So, Ron, basically the biggest problem with cheetah is genetics. And this is partly our fault in the last couple of years, but generally it is actually, cheetah hit a genetic bottleneck about 10,000 years ago, and cheetah are almost all cheetah in the world, whether they be even the Arabian cheetah or a cheetah that is in the Kalahari Desert, is almost genetically the same. So there's a very small genetic pool which makes them very, very prone to diseases. And a disease, and the problem with that is that there's no genetic difference. So there's not, sorry, I'm getting a bit tongue-tied here. There's no members of the population who have an immunity to that disease. So when the disease does get into a population, it is very, very difficult to stop, and a lot of the animals die. There was a case in a zoo in the US that they lost 60% of their cheetahs in a week to this disease. So the main conservation effort, from what I've been reading, is to try and ensure people are not inbreeding them further in smaller reserves, especially in the fenced reserves, and making sure when they do have to move cheetah, they're moving the most genetically distinct cheetah from a reserve to another reserve.
Ron, what they also do, especially in places like Namibia, they're working extensively with farmers. Cheetah actually thrive very well outside of conservation areas if they're not harassed. And so they're working extensively with farmers, specifically in Namibia, where there's huge space. There are only 2 million people in the whole of Namibia, and it's a massive, massive country. And they're working with farmers to sort of compensate them for stock losses in order to stop them killing cheetah, because cheetah will go in, and if they can take a goat instead of a springbok, which runs at 90 miles an hour, then that's what they're going to do. But the cost of cheetah conservation and trying to catch cheetah is far less than the odd goat every few weeks, and so they're working hugely with the farmers outside of protected areas in places like Namibia just to allow sort of free roaming cheetah. And the big thing with cheetah is that they're not a threat to human beings.
And Aleutian sheepdogs is also another interesting that's being in Namibia, using a Spanish sheepdog that is very big and actually protects the flock like it's one of its own to try and push the cheetahs away. Yeah. But guys, moving on to the next really exciting sighting of the week, and that was James. Yes. I was very jealous.
Andrew, while we were driving home one fairly tired morning, it was quite warm, and Andrew he just shouted badger. So I slammed on the anchors. Andrew fell forward and knocked his 2 front teeth out, but we didn't worry about that.
Cameraman.
And there was a female badger and her little pup. And it was such a special thing to be able to see, because I've never seen one here before. They're very seldom seen in the Sabi Sands. They're normally completely nocturnal. And there was this little baby and its mother digging, fossicking around in the ground in the bottom of this drainage line, trying to find something nice to eat. And it was just a most amazing thing just to be able to film them and capture them in the wild like that was spectacular.
And just to mention, both these sightings of this week are so rare in the WildEarth history. There have been only a handful of sightings of cheetah, and this, as far as I understand, is the first badger sighting on WildEarth.
Yeah, I think it was. Deborah in Ohio, lovely question, thank you. You want to know, are honey badgers related to skunks? Now, as my dear friend Brent dropped me in it just now, I might drop him in it. As far as I know, they are not the same family, but they do come from the same superfamily, if that's correct. A badger is a mustelid, and a skunk comes from a different sort of superfamily. So they're as closely related, say, as jackals. No, they're not. They're as closely related as, well, let's give an example, as mongoose are to perhaps genets and viverids. and so they're not quite, they're the same superfamily but not the same family, so they're actually quite distantly related. And the one thing that they do that's very similar to skunks, and the reason I think that the confusion comes, is that a honey badger has an extremely powerful and pungent anal gland, and they use that at a moment's notice. If they feel threatened, they will spray you, they will spray plants, they will spray anything that comes after them with this really foul-smelling stuff, much in the same way as a skunk does.
So, James in Kansas would like to know whether honey badgers have one particular den that they utilize, or do they move around between other dens? Now, I don't want to drop you in it again, James, but it is your sighting.
Thank you. Badgers do not have specific dens, except, I suspect, when they have youngsters. And you jump in here if you feel I'm talking nonsense. So when that little pup that we saw is about that big now, and I think probably not in a permanent den anymore, when they're very tiny, what they will do is almost always go into a termite mound that has been excavated by an aardvark or ant bear, and they'll birth the babies there. They're born blind, they're totally altricial, so they're totally helpless. As soon as they're old enough, they'll move from the den, and they probably do move around. She probably might carry them to different dens, the pups, because these dens start to smell quite offensive after a while.
And gets lots of ectoparasites.
Yes, there's plenty of parasites from the dung and all the kind of disease that goes with living in a small hole. And so she'll move them around, but I don't think that those ones specifically would have had a specific den. No.
They'd already been roaming home range by that stage.
Yeah. Shall we have a look at the clip?
I think so. Most
right,
definitely.
We're going to have a look at the clip of the badgers, and here we go. Well done, Andrew. Lovely stuff from you. You're something of a genius behind the camera. Brent thought that badger had caught a frog. They will eat frogs, obviously, a lot, and I'm really not sure whether that was a frog or not. I couldn't see. It made a loud crunching noise, which was fairly unattractive once it was eaten. And you'll also see the little one running with its tail up. Now, that's a sort of defensive mechanism. They'll run with the tail up like that in case they need to spray that foul-smelling anal gland, and that's why they run like that. You'll notice that the female wasn't nearly as threatened as the male, as the little one was. So the little one ran with the tail up and the female didn't.
But still a really, really special sighting. But moving on to Father's Day.
Yes.
We have a question from Carrie in Texas. Hi, Carrie. Carrie, we're just going to finish looking at the clip. I was a bit premature there. Sorry about that, Carrie. So Carrie would like to know if we have any particular stories about our fathers that might have ignited our passion for the bush.
I actually do have a story about my father that was ignited my passion. Well, sort of ignited my passion for the bush. We're not a family of great bush people. We don't have a caravan. We didn't have tents. In fact, I can safely tell you that my mother has not spent a night under canvas in her life, and she never will. My sister, the thought of camping is totally offensive, and my brother works in a bank, so that's really my family. But we did used to travel to the bush every so often, and I remember my dad and I think I was 12, and I don't know how old he was. We came down to a farm not far from here called Giraffe Farm in the Timbavati, and we went off walking, just the two of us, one afternoon after everyone else had had a big lunch and gone to sleep. And I didn't want to sleep, and my dad didn't want to sleep, and we just went for a walk in the bush. And I mean, it was probably quite dangerous because we were clueless. And I mean, when I arrived in the bush later to be a guide, I was totally clueless. But we found a huge baobab tree, just the two of us, and one of the southernmost baobab trees in the world. And I climbed the tree, and it was with my dad below it, and he climbed up after me, and it has remained one of the most special memories of my life. And I remember when I moved to Ngala, which is just next door to the farm where that baobab was. I remember driving past the exact same tree on my way to the gate one day, and just getting a tremendous pang in my heart at how the memory of of my father and I walking through the bush that day had just meant so much to me. So that's my bush and dad story.
With me and where I grew up, I have quite a few bush and dad stories.
Yes.
But probably it's one of my youngest memories in the bush, and it's very strange how you can remember some stuff from when you were very, very young. I was probably not much over 2 years old, and we were in northern Botswana, and my parents and who they were camping with stopped for a sundowner, and me being me, with my attention deficit disorder, meandered off, and they lost me. And my dad came around to this big pan, had a little bit of dry, very similar to what the water holes are at the moment, a little bit of mud, and there I was, this big, standing about 10 meters away from a huge elephant bull. And all I can remember is my dad sort of running up, and I was having a chat to the elephant in baby language, and he ran up and just shoop under the arm and kept going round back towards the vehicles. But
in case you haven't noticed, Brent likes to have a chat generally.
Yes, all the time, even with elephants.
Came from an early age.
Yes.
What a wonderful story.
No, it was, and it's strange. It's my earliest memory, and I can't remember a lot of stuff after that.
Yeah.
But that is my earliest memory as a kid. But so, enough with dad stories. I think it is time for you to start explaining what we're going to be doing next.
Well, we're going to have a small song, a great song. The great song that we're going to sing, I've done a few of these Johnny Clegg numbers, and this song, some of you have actually requested, and I was looking for a song either about dads, but I couldn't find anything that wasn't miserable, or about winter, and likewise I couldn't find anything that wasn't miserable. I was practicing one by Sting earlier today, and it made me cry, so I thought that wasn't a good idea. And so, in keeping with that sort of baobab story, and I'm sure many of the stories you have, there's a song called Great Heart by Johnny Clegg, and it's just a wonderful song about it captured the hearts and minds of South Africans in the 80s during the movie Jock of the Bushveld, and if you haven't seen it, go and find it somewhere.
Amazing.
And the first version, it was made in sort of 1985 or 6, I think, and this song was all about the Lowveld, and whenever I hear it I think about that time my father and I in the baobab tree, and Brent will be on the egg today. He's graduated.
James has given me a toy.
So he will now be on
an
the
instrument.
Egg. Please excuse the percussive abilities of Brent. This is his first try.
And I am not very good.
So Great Heart by Johnny Clegg. The world is full of strange behavior. Every man has to be his own savior. I know I can make it on my own if I try, but I'm searching for a great heart to stand me by underneath the African sky. A great heart to stand me by. I'm searching for the spirit of the great heart to hold and stand me by. I'm searching for the spirit of the great heart under African skies. Sometimes I feel that you really know me. Give me a bit of a shake. Sometimes there's so much you can show me. Not too fast. Interesting, all right. There's a highway of stars across the heavens, a whispering song of the wind in the grass, a roaring thunder across the savannas, a hope and a dream at the edge of the skies. And your life is a story like the wind. Your life is a story like the wind. I'm searching for the spirit of the great heart to hold and stand me by. I'm searching for the spirit of the great heart that can beat my name inside. And sometimes I feel that you really know me. 'Cause sometimes there's so much you can show me. Now, Brent's going to do a little dance. He didn't know he was going to do this. Oh, yeah, my yoba. Oh, yeah, my yoba. Oh, yeah, my yoba. Oh, yeah, my yoba. Hey. The spirit of the great heart, who comes in by Salawentio. I'm searching for the spirit of the great heart, who comes in by Salawentio. Wasn't it good?
No, it's terrible.
Right.
Music wasn't my
just
strong
quickly,
point.
I just wanted to tell you the Zulu part of that song, Guka Mzimba, Sala Wenhlizio, means grow old, my body, but stay young, my heart. And I think both of our fathers have managed to do that to a certain extent. And so that's for you, dads, wherever you are in the world. My dad in the Eastern Cape and yours in the
On Game Drive.
On Game Drive. Yes.
Yeah, he's definitely
Very
still on
nice.
Game Drive.
Super. So that was it was a wonderful week.
Absolutely
Badgers,
splendid.
cheetahs.
Jesus. I got to play a musical instrument for the
you
first
got
time in
to
my
play a
life.
musical
At school they
instrument.
used to kick me out of the choir
Yes,
immediately.
yes, I'm not entirely surprised. Your percussion is pretty talented, I feel.
No, I
Yes.
think the dancing was better than the... No, we're going to have to see what Scott can do when he gets back.
Yes,
No, it's going to be very
terrified
interesting.
of that sort of stuff. Anyway, so we'll see what the new week ahead holds to us. And as I said to some of you on Game Drive today, for us, Sunday is any other day, as it is for the Lions. So while we tend to, in the cities, tend to spend our Sundays having a bit of a relax, the Lions obviously do that every day, and we just go out kind of randomly. Brent, in fact, said, what are we doing for the fireside chat yesterday? Thinking that yesterday was Sunday, but
Yes,
it is in fact today.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Sunday, it's pretty much all the same for us out here.
Yes.
And we're very lucky to be able to do something that we love so much that it actually almost isn't work after all. But we love going out there. We love sharing what we know with you guys and being able to spend our time amongst nature.
If it is still Sunday wherever you are in the world, and you're in the northern hemisphere, I hope that you enjoy the longest day.
Yes.
And if you're in the southern hemisphere, in Australia, you're probably already the other side of winter, which is quite nice for you. We will be there tomorrow morning, and those in Argentina and beyond will get there just a bit after us.
And maybe
Nice.
England might actually have some sunshine.
Yes, it's unlikely though.
No, grey, rain.
3 days of summer, I think they get.
Yes.
Don't they? It's a bit like
Yes.
Cape Town.
Only over Wimbledon though.
Yes.
Yes, they allowed summer over Wimbledon.
They allowed a few days of summer over Wimbledon. So I hope you enjoy that. So the week for us, I think, is going to hold a lot more lions and leopards.
Hopefully.
I'm very interested in the Nkuhuma Pride and what happened with them today. Their blood was up when we found them this morning. They were nervous. They were staring into my eyes, which kind of boiled my soul slightly. And you heard, Brent, that they had killed something south of the boundary.
Just south of the boundary. And I think maybe those Matimbas came
Yeah.
in and chased them off.
I think that's what happened. And what are they not on the boundary of the Styx Pride territory?
They are, very much so.
Yeah.
And the Styx females have been scent marking all the way up almost to Gowrie Dam.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of movement
So
going on.
I think that's what happened. So those lions that we saw this morning and the same ones we eventually found this afternoon, I think it had a bit of a territorial dispute. And that's why their blood was up. They'd eaten, they'd had a fight over the food, they were a bit damaged, they were a bit injured, but so they made it through it.
But anyway, it's been wonderful having you with us. We really have enjoyed this fireside chat, even the impromptu dance. I think that is actually dropping someone
Yes,
in it.
yes, that is known as dropping someone in it.
Yes, thank you very much, James.
Yeah.
Well, from all of us here, have a wonderful evening. From everyone behind the scenes you can't see, big thank you to all of them, and thank you to all of you for joining us. And we will see you bright and early for the Sunrise
On the
Safari.
morning.
On the morning, yes.
I'm a thank for the spirit of the great Lord who comes in Basala when she see you. I'm a thank for the spirit of the great Lord who comes in Basala when she see you.
I missed